Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this with absolute clarity. Poverty is not your destiny, it's your current condition. And guess what? You have everything you need inside you to work your way out. This isn't about luck. It's about mind, method, and relentless move. Poverty is not a destiny. It is not a sentence written into the DNA of your life. It is a circumstance, a chapter, a situation. But here's the danger. When you confuse a situation with destiny, you start to accept it as permanent. You start to make peace with it. And the moment you accept poverty as permanent, you surrender the power you were born with, the power to change. Too many people confuse where they are with who they are. Where you are may be poverty. Who you are, though, is a force capable of rewriting the story. But you cannot separate yourself from poverty until you decide to stop worshipping the comfort of excuses. You can either defend your poverty with stories about why life is unfair, or you can fight for your future with discipline. Both require energy. The difference is that excuses keep you where you are. Discipline takes you to where you could be. The truth is, poverty is loud. It is loud in the hunger in your stomach, loud in the bills piling up, loud in the conversations you overhear when people talk about the things you cannot afford. But it is also subtle. Poverty whispers in your mind that you are not enough, that you do not deserve more, that you should be grateful for the little you have. And if you are not careful, those whispers become beliefs, and those beliefs become your prison. This is why the first step is always the mind. The battle is won or lost before it even begins, in the theater of your thinking. If you believe you are meant to live a life of struggle, you will unconsciously act in ways that confirm that belief. You will choose jobs that underpay you. You will surround yourself with people who complain rather than build. You will spend your evenings numbing yourself instead of sharpening yourself. But when you shift your belief, when you say to yourself, "I am capable of more," something changes. Suddenly you start searching for opportunities, not sympathy. You start asking how, not why me. Let's be clear, getting out of poverty is not easy. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you do things that are uncomfortable, often painful, and certainly unpopular. You may need to wake up earlier than everyone else, work longer than everyone else, and study harder than everyone else. You will be mocked. People will say you've changed, and they're right. You have. But understand this. Those who criticize you for changing are the ones who benefit from you staying the same. There is no dignity in staying where you are because you are afraid of standing out. Poverty has no loyalty. It doesn't reward you for staying loyal to it. Poverty does not care about your humility, your patience, or your prayers if those prayers are not followed by action. Poverty will sit comfortably in your life for as long as you allow it. The only way to evict it is by creating value. Value is the rent you pay for freedom, and value comes from what you can do for others. The marketplace does not pay for your struggles. It pays for your solutions. People will not give you money because they feel sorry for you. They will give you money because you solved a problem they couldn't solve themselves. That is the path out. The moment you understand this, the game changes. Stop asking, "Who will help me?" and start asking, "Who can I help?" That is how you move from poverty to progress. But let me also tell you this, the journey is lonely. The climb is uphill. On that climb, you will carry the weight of doubt, the weight of debt, the weight of disappointment. You will fall, you will question yourself, you will think about quitting. But remember, poverty is not permanent, it is not destiny, and every step forward, no matter how small, takes you further from where you started. What you cannot afford is the luxury of waiting. Time is not your friend. Every year you delay is another year poverty takes root. Every day you hesitate, poverty grows stronger. If you do not disrupt it, it will pass from you to your children, and from them to theirs. You are not just fighting for yourself. You are fighting to break the cycle for generations, and that requires urgency. So you must choose. You either live as a victim of your situation or as the architect of your destiny. And here is the beautiful truth. The moment you choose the latter, poverty loses its power, because poverty cannot survive in the presence of vision, discipline, and execution. Poverty cannot endure when you decide to build, to learn, to lead. Remember this, poverty is a situation, situations change, poverty is a chapter, chapters end, poverty is an obstacle, obstacles are overcome. The only question is whether you will rise to face it. Because if you will, then you will discover that your life was never meant to be a story of struggle. It was meant to be a story of triumph. And when you triumph, you won't just prove it to yourself. You will prove it to everyone watching you, everyone who doubted you, everyone who told you it could not be done. More importantly, you will prove it to the child who looks up to you, the family who depends on you, and the generations who will one day thank you. Poverty was never your destiny, but greatness can be. Everything you will ever become begins with the way you think. Your mind is the foundation of your journey. Before you build wealth, before you build a business, before you build influence, you must first build the right mindset. Without it, everything else collapses. With it, even the impossible starts to feel inevitable. The danger is that most people underestimate the power of their own minds. They think mindset is just about positive thinking, as if repeating affirmations will magically change their lives. That is not mindset. Mindset is the operating system of your life. It is the set of beliefs, assumptions, and disciplines that dictate how you respond to challenges, how you chase opportunities, and how you interpret failure. If your operating system is faulty, it doesn't matter how advanced the application. You will crash. Look around you. Two people can grow up in the same neighborhood, face the same struggles, even attend the same schools. One ends up stuck, the other breaks free and builds something remarkable. What separates them is not resources, not connections, not even luck. It is mindset. One sees limitation, the other sees possibility. One asks, why me? The other asks, why not me? Here's the truth. Life does not give you what you deserve. It gives you what you demand, and your demand is dictated by your mindset. If your mind is trained to settle, you will never rise. If your mind is trained to accept excuses, you will never execute. But if your mind is trained to seek solutions, to find value, to stay disciplined, you cannot be stopped. That is why the most important investment you will ever make is not in property, not in stocks, not in a business. It is in your own mindset. But building that mindset requires work. You cannot think like a victim and live like a victor. You cannot feed your mind with gossip, fear, and self-doubt, then expect it to produce courage and clarity. What you put in comes out. If you want your mind to expand, feed it with books, conversations, and experiences that stretch you. If you want your mind to become sharper, surround yourself with people who challenge you, not those who comfort your mediocrity. Discipline, too, is a mindset. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about training your mind to stay loyal to your purpose even when your feelings are not. Feelings are temporary, mindset is permanent. When you wake up tired and the world feels heavy, mindset tells you, get up anyway. When you fail, mindset tells you, learn and try again. When others laugh at your dreams, mindset tells you, keep building. That is the foundation. Understand something. The world will test your mindset. It will send you setbacks, rejections, and betrayals. It will whisper to you that you are not enough, and most people surrender to that voice. But if your mindset is strong, you will not bow. You will stand up, adjust your strategy, and keep moving, because you know that the journey is not about perfection. It is about progression. The problem is not that people lack talent. It's that they lack the mental framework to maximize their talent. Talent without the right mindset is wasted. Ideas without the right mindset die as daydreams. Even opportunities without the right mindset are squandered. How many people have been given a chance, only to blow it because they were not mentally ready? That is why the first step is not opportunity. It is preparation. And preparation begins in the mind. You must decide what story you are telling yourself. If the story is, I cannot, then you will not. If the story is, I will try, then you will stall. But if the story is, I will, then your actions align, your courage grows, and your journey unfolds. The world does not respond to hesitation. It responds to conviction, and conviction is born from mindset. Your mind is the battlefield. Win there, and the rest of the war is already won. Lose there, and no amount of effort will save you. You can put a poor mindset in a rich environment, and they will find a way to return to poverty. But you can put a powerful mindset in a poor environment, and they will find a way to rise. That is the difference. So the question is simple. What foundation are you building on? Because if your mindset is weak, Everything you build will crack under pressure. But if your mindset is strong, nothing, no storm, no setback, no critic can break you. The foundation determines the future. Build the right one, and you can climb as high as you choose. This is why some people, even when stripped of everything, rise again, because their wealth was never in their pockets. It was in their thinking. You can take away their money, their titles, their possessions, but you cannot take away their mindset. And as long as they have that, they will rebuild. That is the power you have when your mind is your strongest asset. Your journey is not determined by where you start. It is determined by the strength of the foundation you build inside your mind. The day you decide to reprogram your thinking is the day your journey changes forever. Because once the mind shifts, the life follows. And when your foundation is unshakable, your destiny is unstoppable. Wealth is never an accident. It is not the result of luck, prayers, or the universe suddenly deciding to smile on you. Wealth is a consequence, and the consequence is simple. You get paid for the value you bring. Nothing more, nothing less. If you want to change your financial reality, then change the level of value you add to the lives of others. Too many people sit around waiting for money. They wait for opportunities. They wait for someone to notice them. But money doesn't move to where people are waiting. Money moves to where problems are solved. It moves to where someone has taken the time to create a product, a service, or an idea that makes life easier, faster, or better for others. The greater the problem you solve, the greater the wealth that flows to you. The tragedy is that many confuse activity with value. They work long hours. They complain about how busy they are. But being busy does not mean you are valuable. The market doesn't care how tired you are. The market only cares. Did you solve the problem? Did you create impact? Did you make something better than it was before? If the answer is yes, then the market rewards you. If the answer is no, then the market ignores you. That's the brutal truth. Think about it. The wealthiest people in the world are not paid because they were born into privilege. Some were, yes, but that's not the pattern. The pattern is that they created something that millions of people could not live without. They found a pain point and fixed it. They turned ideas into solutions and solutions into industries. That's value, and that's why the world pays them. But here's the part most people miss. Value is not just about money. It's about impact. The teacher who goes beyond the textbook to inspire a child, that is value. The entrepreneur who designs a product that saves people time, that is value. The leader who creates jobs, giving people dignity and hope, that is value. Money is simply a byproduct of the value you consistently deliver. If you want more money, don't chase money. Chase mastery. Chase excellence. Chase the ability to do something so well that people cannot ignore you. That skill, that knowledge, that service, that becomes your leverage. And once you have leverage, wealth follows. Here is the danger, though. Most people want the reward before they give the value. They want to be paid before they've proven they can deliver. That mindset is a trap. You don't get rich because you want to. You get rich because you've earned the right to. You've put in the work, refined the craft, stayed disciplined when others quit. You've built so much value that the world has no choice but to compensate you. And understand this, value is not static. The value you gave yesterday may not be valuable tomorrow. The world moves fast. Technology changes, markets evolve. If you do not adapt, you become obsolete. That's why the most successful people are students long before they are masters. They keep learning, they keep improving, they keep asking, how do I create more value today than I did yesterday? That question is what keeps them relevant, and relevance is what keeps them wealthy. You don't need to be the smartest, the richest, or the most connected to win. You just need to solve a problem better than the next person. That's the secret. Find a gap, fill it, then scale it. That's how movements are born, how businesses grow, how empires are built. Not through waiting, through creating. Stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give that the world needs? That single shift in thinking is the beginning of wealth, because the world does not reward consumers. It rewards creators. It rewards builders. It rewards those who take responsibility for making life better for others. And let me tell you this, wealth built on value is wealth that lasts. Money that comes through shortcuts and schemes disappears as fast as it arrived. But money built on value, on solving real problems, endures. It becomes legacy. It creates opportunities not just for you, but for your children, your community, and generations that come after you. So if you are tired of being broke, stop counting the money you don't have and start counting the problems you can solve. Look around you. There is no shortage of problems. Every frustration, every inefficiency, every complaint, that is an opportunity waiting for someone with courage and creativity to fix it. Be that person, step into that gap, build that solution. That is how wealth begins. Wealth is not mysterious. It is not reserved for a chosen few. It is accessible to anyone willing to add enough value. The formula is simple: more value, more wealth, but the execution is demanding. It requires vision, discipline, and resilience. It requires that you stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about others. When you do that, when you commit to being valuable, you will notice something extraordinary. Opportunities start chasing you. People recommend you, doors open for you, your name carries weight, not because you begged for attention, but because you earned it through consistent, undeniable value. Remember this: wealth follows value. And value is created, not wished for. If you want to change your life, change the way you show up. Stop waiting, stop complaining, start creating. Solve the problems others avoid, give more than you take. And soon, you'll discover that wealth is not about what you possess, it's about what you produce. The moment you add real value, you no longer chase money. Money starts chasing you. Comfort is seductive. It whispers in your ear, telling you to stay where it feels safe, where it feels familiar, where nothing stretches you or demands more from you. But comfort is also a trap. It lulls you into thinking you are fine when you are not. It convinces you that tomorrow is guaranteed, that you can delay your dreams, that you can live halfway. And people spend their entire lives in that trap, confusing existence with living. Purpose, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It does not allow you to rest where you are. It pushes you, it provokes you, it demands more from you than you think you have to give. Purpose is not polite. It wakes you up at night. It disrupts your plans. It stretches your capacity. And that is why so few people choose it. Because comfort feels easier. But comfort never builds greatness. Comfort builds mediocrity. Purpose builds legacy. Every person who has ever achieved anything extraordinary did it not because they were comfortable, but because they were committed. They chose to sacrifice convenience for contribution. They understood that pain is the price you pay for progress. The athlete doesn't wake up at 4 a.m. because it's comfortable. They do it because their purpose demands it. The entrepreneur doesn't risk failure, debt, and humiliation because it's comfortable. They do it because their purpose leaves them no choice. The question you must ask yourself is this: what am I choosing? Because every day you are making a choice. You are either choosing purpose or comfort. And make no mistake, comfort looks attractive, but it will cost you everything. Comfort will cost you your potential. Comfort will cost you your ambition. Comfort will cost you your destiny. Purpose will cost you your ease, but it will give you meaning. It will give you fulfillment. It will give you a life that echoes long after you are gone. Here is the truth people don't like to hear. You cannot have both. You cannot serve purpose and remain comfortable. Purpose will offend your comfort. It will demand that you sacrifice your time, your energy, your resources, even your relationships. Purpose will require you to step into arenas where you are not ready, to fight battles where you are outnumbered, believe in possibilities that no one else sees. And in those moments, you will want to retreat to comfort. But retreating is how dreams die. Advancing is how visions are born. Comfort will always give you what you want now. Purpose will give you what you truly need later. Comfort gives you the short-term reward, rest, ease, pleasure. Purpose gives you the long-term reward, impact, fulfillment, legacy. The tragedy is that most people trade the eternal for the immediate. They choose what feels good today and wonder why their life feels empty tomorrow. But you are not called to live empty. You are called to live full, to live with fire, to live with urgency. That fire comes from knowing why you are here. When you have a clear purpose, it pulls you forward. You don't have to chase motivation. Motivation fades. Purpose sustains. Purpose wakes you up even when you are tired. Purpose drives you even when you have failed. Purpose keeps you moving even when no one is clapping, and let me tell you this, when you choose purpose, life will test you. It will put obstacles in your way. It will force you to question yourself. It will make you wonder if it's worth it, and that is where most people quit. They misinterpret difficulty as a sign that they are on the wrong path, but difficulty is the evidence you are on the right path. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Purpose is not meant to be easy. It is meant to be worth it. The only way you break free from average is by making peace with discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Building is uncomfortable, but so is regret, and regret is far heavier than discipline. Regret will suffocate you in your later years when you realize you traded your purpose for comfort, and in the end you have nothing lasting to show for it. So you must decide, you must choose. Will you live for comfort or will you live for purpose? Because one leads to survival, the other leads to significance. One keeps you safe, the other makes you great. One dies with you, the other lives beyond you. The world does not remember people who stayed comfortable. It remembers those who lived with purpose. Purpose is what will set you apart. Purpose is what will drive you when talent is not. Purpose is what will give you resilience when others quit. Purpose is what will make you dangerous to mediocrity, powerful in adversity, unstoppable in pursuit. That is why you cannot afford to compromise. The truth is simple. Comfort ends when life begins. If you want to go further, you must be willing to sacrifice comfort for comfort. You must be willing to step into the unknown, to walk through the discomfort, to endure the struggle. Because on the other side of that struggle is where meaning lies. And when you find it, you will realize that comfort was never the prize. Comfort was the enemy. The prize has always been purpose. Life will always present you with constraints. Limitations of money, of access, of education, of networks. These constraints are real, but they are not absolute. What matters is not what you don't have. It's what you do with what you do have. Too many people surrender their agency because they are trapped in the story of their constraints. They tell themselves, I cannot move forward until I have more. And that single thought is what keeps them stuck. The truth is, you already have something in your hands that you can leverage. The question is whether you will use it. Agency is the power of choice. It is the ability to decide how you will respond to what life has handed you. You cannot always control the circumstances, but you can always control the decision. And it is in that decision where your future is written. People waste their energy blaming the system, blaming the government, blaming their parents, blaming their environment. But blame does not build. Action builds. Blame gives away your agency. Action reclaims it. History is full of people who rose despite constraints. People who had nothing but acted like they had everything. They refused to let their starting point define their finish line. They understood that the obstacle was not a stop sign, it was a signal to become creative. That is what leveraging agency is, taking the little you have and multiplying it through courage, resilience, and ingenuity. The truth is, constraints force you to be resourceful. When everything is easy, you become complacent. But when resources are limited, you are forced to innovate. You are forced to stretch your thinking, to do more with less, to find ways where others see walls. That is why some of the greatest entrepreneurs did not come from wealth. They came from hunger. Hunger sharpens you. Hunger teaches you to maximize. Hunger forces you to move. But here is where many people go wrong. They confuse constraints with paralysis. They think, I cannot start because I don't have enough capital. I cannot build because I don't have connections. I cannot grow because I don't have the right background. Yet every empire you admire started small. Every movement you study began with one person leveraging the little they had. Capital comes later. Connections come later. Growth comes later. But action must come now. You cannot wait for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions do not exist. If you wait for them, you will wait forever. You must start with the imperfect tools you have, in the imperfect place you are, with the imperfect knowledge you carry. Because once you start, momentum builds, and momentum attracts the very resources you thought you lacked. The people who are waiting to help you will not show up until you begin. The opportunities will not reveal themselves until you are moving. Action is the key that unlocks doors. Agency also means accountability. You must take ownership of your life, even within the unfairness. You may not have chosen where you were born, but you can choose where you will die. You may not control the family you came from, but you can control the legacy you leave behind. That is agency. It is the refusal to let external circumstances write the story of your life. It is the insistence that your choices, not your conditions, will define you. Constraints are not unique to you. Everyone has them. The difference is in how people respond. Some use constraints as a reason to stop. Others use them as fuel to drive forward. The ones who rise are those who understand that constraints are simply the canvas upon which they will paint their greatness. And often it is the very constraint that becomes the advantage. The lack of capital teaches you financial discipline. The lack of networks teaches you persistence. The lack of privilege teaches you hunger. These are not weaknesses. They are strengths disguised as limitations. Your agency is your greatest asset. It is the only thing that cannot be taken from you. You can lose money, you can lose opportunities, you can lose relationships, but as long as you still have the power to decide, you can rebuild. That is why people who lose everything can rise again, because their agency was never tied to what they had. It was tied to who they were. So the challenge is this: stop waiting for rescue. Stop waiting for the government, for investors, for saviors. They are not coming. You are the answer you are waiting for. You are the strategy, you are the resource, and when you begin to act like it, you will be shocked at how much power you already have. The world will always test your resolve. It will give you excuses to stay where you are. It will tempt you to believe that you are powerless, but you must resist that lie. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not condemned to remain as you are. You are capable of creating, building, moving, even within the constraints. And once you learn to leverage your agency, no constraint can hold you. Because while others are waiting for permission, you are moving. While others are counting their limitations, you are multiplying your possibilities. While others are surrendering to circumstance, you are shaping destiny. That is the power of agency. And when you live it, you prove to the world, and to yourself, that constraints are never the end of the story. They are simply the beginning of yours. So stand up, look in the mirror, and declare, I refuse to be defined by poverty. I am defined by my relentless pursuit of value. Now, go create, build, and claim a life that once seemed impossible, because it is possible. Your poverty is a chapter, not the whole book. And the next chapter, it's yours to write.